there's this thing with creating energy. Okay, it is energy return on energy invested. I have this in. There's an overall point that I've been trying to make with the Trevor Report, and I think I'll just make it right now. Okay, the reason that I made in my previous Trevor Report about how the rules aren't playing fair to either side is because the rules are not intended to be fair to either side. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Trevor Report. Let's jump right on into it. I think what I need to do for this sort of decentralized network that I've created for myself is I need to revisit the pro-human climate change thing that I've done. Now I've covered this on the Trevor Report before. It's right here. The solutions to climate change must be pro-human. And the first couple segments are just going to be a refresher and why I believe that refresher is necessary. Now, there's this group called Just Stop Oil. And they're essentially just LARPers. They're LARPers. And they're not going to solve anything at all. If you see it, again, look, if you see it on screen, clickable link down below in the description. Look, bring soup and sandwiches to a protest. It's like, come on, like these are perpetual children. They're not going to solve anything. So I thought I would once again solve the climate change problem for the climate change activists, because why not, right? So to start off, here's what you would first need to do. Okay, let's just take the climate activist position. There's too much there's too much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. We need to do something about it. Okay. Repurpose the excess carbon dioxide into jet fuel. You repurpose it so that you can continually cycle. By continually cycling the carbon dioxide into jet fuel or into graphite, then you could. Okay, jet fuel and graphite can be used for a lot of useful things. Now, don't get me wrong, graphite can be used for things that are a lot different than jet fuel. Jet fuel has a very particular purpose, But that right there, this would reduce the amount of carbon in the atmosphere in such a way that would provide worth and value to humans, because at the end of the day, if humans don't like it, they won't do it. All right? Especially if they don't have to. You would also use something like nuclear power, okay, if you actually cared about climate change, because nuclear power has there's this thing with creating energy. Okay, it is energy return on energy invested. How much power do you need to put into how much energy do you need to put in to your generator in order for you to generate more electricity? Okay, it's sort of like how much crop yield do you get for using a particular type of plant? Okay, now solar plants don't have a very high return on energy invested. Wind, notoriously bad. Okay, and here's why. Here's how generating electricity works. It hasn't really changed since the steam engine. Okay, what you do is you have all you got to do is create steam pressure so that you can spin a turbine, which electrifies some magnets, basically. Okay, it's minerals, but for the sake of convenience, just going to call it magnets because I don't remember the types of minerals off the top of my head. and so it spins. So you spin that, and you spin the turbine with the steam pressure and the electrified magnets, and a few other steps down the line, you generate electricity. Put simply. The problem is, it's not always windy. So if you have a wind turbine farm, like a wind farm, and it's not always windy, then what you got to do is you have to use oil in order to get the turbines to spin more. Okay, and the problem with that is, if you're putting oil into a wind farm in order to get these turbines to spin, wouldn't it just be easier to just put the oil in the turbine that you're trying to get to spin for the steam pressure for the electrified magnets? And so at that point, wouldn't something that runs on gasoline be more energy efficient? And it is. So there's that. But nuclear power specifically has the highest, out of everything that we have currently, it has the highest energy return on energy invested. Now, there are a few downsides. You got to build a man-made lake or whatever, and they're not they're not carbon neutral the way that like solar and wind farms are. But again, if you take the excess carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and you repurpose it in a pro-human manner, okay. But even still, nuclear power generates far less emissions than, well, the materials that you have to mine in order to get the solar panels, the materials that you have to mine in order to get the batteries for the electric cars that Tesla has, and a lot of things down the line. Again, and I said this on the previous Trevor report on this exact subject, the solution to climate change must be pro-human, because if it's not pro-human, then it borders on outright omnicidal nonsense. Now, speaking of outright omnicidal nonsense, there are ESG scores. I've talked about ESG scores and how they are, definitionally speaking, philosophically fascist. All right, but ESG scores, environmental, social, governance, just all previous Trevor reports linked down below in the description. This is an example of an anti-human way of going about the climate change question. So don't do this, right? Fascism, very anti-human. Fascism responsible for genocide. Don't do that. But anyway, let's continue. It's 5 a.m. Yes, I know that National Socialism and fascism isn't the same thing. I just can't be bothered because I'm tired. More failure of Green Democrats. Fire management. California wildfires cancel out nearly 2 decades of emission reductions. Now, what John Solomon is doing right here is a thing that a lot of people on the right do, which, don't get me wrong, I've probably done this a few times myself, where they're not. Climate activists, particularly the radical ones, aren't necessarily the types to look into the subject. They are essentially secular Catholics who believe a doomsday prophecy, essentially. Okay, it's exactly, but they engage in their. But tithing is their activism, essentially. They're not trying to make the world a better place. They're trying to feel saved. That's all they're trying to do right here. So yes, you can sort of be the parent and say, look, what you did is ineffective or whatever. But these people simply don't care. They don't. Not at all. Not one bit. Not a smidge. Slim. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Right? So you can't just sort of lord yourself over them because, again, they're secular Catholics. They don't care. Moving on to the pro-human, moving away from the pro-human climate stuff to the regular news. A little bit of education for 10 minutes. It's not the worst thing. Bernie Sanders sounds warning that young people are not turning out for Dems, and I've covered the polls for Democrats in the previous Trevor report on Monday, I believe. Yeah. So do check that out. It's a good thing that the populist left is starting to, I guess, acknowledge a few things. But Democrat Arizona candidate Katie Hobbs warns she'll take legal action against county if they permit counting votes by hand. Oh, Katie. I don't even need to say anything. Well, actually, I will. forgot I had this in. There's an overall point that I've been trying to make with the Trevor Report, and I think I'll just make it right now. Okay, the reason that I made in my previous Trevor Report about how the rules aren't playing fair to either side is because the rules are not intended to be fair to either side, and we're about to get into why in a moment. And it's all because of repressive tolerance. It's this book, or this third chapter of a contribution that he made that the critical theorists, not critical race theorists, critical theorists made, where they essentially argued that everyone who is against progress needs to, it's effectively the philosophical backing for cancel culture. Okay, media, academia, and the way Silicon Valley operates is not designed to be fair all across the board. It's simply not. So what we got to do instead is we got to stop calling out hypocrisy, stop calling out the blah blah blah. Okay. There's this right here, okay, that, again, I don't even feel like I need to say anything about this particular thing, okay? But now there's a lawsuit. There's lawsuit reveals that there's a vast scheme of big tech censorship colluding with the federal government. Yeah, I know. We all know this, and it just gets to a certain point where it doesn't matter. I know they're evil. They know that I know that they're evil. Okay, but they're still continuing to do it anyway. So again, we can call out the hypocrisy. We can call out how terrible something is. But again, at the end of the day, they're just gonna continue marching on anyway because we need to change the culture. Okay, change it. Chinese Communist Party tied group to run midterm election observer program in swing states. This video is going on YouTube, so I'm just gonna not say anything. It's an exclusive, and for exclusive reporting, I generally recommend that people look into it, and then I give people some time, and then I'll end up covering it later. But people are doing something about it. The culture has, or seems to have, changed a little bit when it comes to matters of election security. Arizona sheriff steps up security around ballot drop boxes. Arizona seems to have had enough of just having the most broken election system in the entire country. Okay, and it really is the slogan: election day, not election week or election month or election year. Arizona is just notoriously bad at just really the basics. If you watched the way the primaries were handled, it's just absolutely out of control. It needs reform, and the populists can reform it left or right. The populist right seems to be the one stepping up to just fix these really basic things that should never be broken in the first place. But Merrick Garland is like, the Justice Department will not allow voters to be intimidated ahead of midterms. Okay, so again, I've covered this in previous Trevor reports. I've covered what they talked about in 2000 Mules. I covered the secret history of the shadow campaign that saved the 2020 election, where the forces of capital and labor united in order to ensure the proper outcome of the of the presidential election. Time Magazine, YouTube, Time Magazine. Okay, there are people who are not watching this on YouTube. In fact, the majority of where the Trevor Report goes is not on YouTube. But because I've committed myself to bringing the barbarians to Rome, I have to not say the obvious, which is very annoying. But anyway, let's continue. Right-wing vigilantes sued for intimidating Arizona voters. Ugh. Kill me. On Monday, October 24th, the Arizona Alliance for Retired Americans and Voto Latino filed a lawsuit against Clean Elections USA, its affiliates, and unidentified individuals who allegedly have been recruited or encouraged by Clean Elections USA to monitor drop boxes. They wouldn't have to be monitored if there was a camera on them. The way there's a camera on fucking everything, there's a camera on everything. The NSA is spying on me right now. Right here, right now, right this very instant. Okay, I got this webcam in front of my computer. I got this webcam. I got this camera on my phone. Okay, I got a microphone on my computer. I got a microphone on my phone. The NSA is spying on me right now, just like how the NSA spies on fucking everyone. Okay, the NSA could spy on the NSA could spy on people that were talked about in 2000 Mules. Now, there hasn't been an investigation to come out after 2000 Mules, which is stupid, but you know, it's the paradigm we're living in. One side can do whatever they want, while the other side is effectively a second class citizen. But anyway, let's continue. The plaintiffs allege that there were at least 5 instances last week wherein Clean Elections USA supporters gathered at ballot drop boxes in Maricopa County with the express purpose of deterring voters. No. Clean. Okay. So check this out. They're Democrats, so I have to explain basic arithmetic. Oh God. Oh man. Basically, let's take a look at this thing called author intent, right? So if I were to start an activism agency called I Love Apples, right? And with this activism organization called I Love Apples, I then, can you tell I haven't had breakfast yet? I go out of my way to protect apple farms from people who just go to the apple farm and just steal apples before they're ripe. You know, am I intimidating them when I say, "Hey, you there, you fool! How dare you? I'm trying to protect it. You try to steal apples while in the presence of me. You can't do that." Well, it's exactly what they're doing. And then of course they bring up the Ku Klux Klan in their lawsuit. The practices violate the Voting Rights Act and the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1780. No, they're not preventing you from voting. They're preventing you from They're preventing you from bringing. They're trying to prevent you from fortifying the election. Again, Time Magazine, our article. Okay, they're trying to prevent. Okay, like that's what they're doing. They're trying to prevent people from being corrupt and evil. Okay, if you a single person with your single ballot go up to the ballot drop box and put it in, that's fine. But if you have 5 ballots on you, okay, and you get into your car to get more ballots and drive and put it back in, you know, you're as the democracy protection documentary called it 2000 Mules. You're a mule. You're a voter mule. Okay, so they're just, you know, and by the way, the Ku Klux Klan's your team, Democrats. They've always been your team. You know, they always will be your team. Shut up.
It's like, oh, it's voter intimidation. I can't walk to a mailbox with 4 ballots that aren't mine.
Shut up. Shut up. But in the meantime, my name is Trevor Brown. You just watched the Trevor Report. Do click the link tree down below in the description that I was forced to make because Linktree banned my link tree for opposing black nationalism. But the problem is that link tree was kind of boring. So I made another link tree after the one that I made that I was boring, and I put the boring one in the as a link in that other link tree. It's called With Koji. And anyway, see you all in the next one.